Good morning or afternoon, everybody, depending on where you are. This is the Roaming Prepper, Pete here. And today is our Saturday SitRep for the 31st of July, 2021. And I've got to tell you, the fact that it's July 2021 is really weird to me. Um, I had reload maybe 4 months before the Rona knocked everyone for a loop. And it's almost like, and I've spoken to other people, it's almost like 2020 became a compressed pile of crap. It was just a very messed up year. The pandemic was bad enough, but then with the riots and the fighting and the election and all the drama, a lot of folks just wrote off 2020. You just got through it, basically. Um, a lot of folks didn't. Sadly, a lot of folks, other than the illnesses itself, violence and just depression, a slew of other stuff, some folks just stopped going to the doctor, getting themselves taken care of. So the fact that we're now we're going into August of 2021 is a little bit surreal for me. I got to tell you, it's kind of weird. But it is what it is. We're into preparedness. We're survivalists. We're folks who are into bushcraft, as my friends in the UK say, and we adapt and move on. And that's an important point. If you take anything away today, learn, adapt, modify, move on. A lot of the preparedness, survivalist, bushcraft stuff, the core is the same. It starts with knowledge and presence of mind, goes to skill sets, and then the fundamentals: food, order, protection, shelter, amenities, stuff like that. Again, a message to all the new folks. If you are new to this stuff, maybe during the last year you jumped into this preparedness thing, you're seeing folks with, these big channels out there, Gray Man, the Angry Prepper, City Prepping, the Urban Prepper. I mean, there's some massive accounts out there. And you see where they're at, and you're like, oh, I can't do this. Yeah, you can. You can. But it's step by step. We typically, unless someone had like $500,000 in their pocket, you just don't, poof, have instant preparedness, right? It's kind of a evolutionary growing thing. I'd follow the homesteaders if I were a starting prepper right now, and just kind of see how they do it. A lot of organic living, grow your own garden kind of stuff is a great way to stay prepared. So, folks, it is August, almost August of 2021. And we were hoping after 2020, we'd hit 21 and it would be normal, and it's just weird now. So weird is normal, and that's okay. Just adapt. Don't freak out. You see something weird on your radar, study, learn about it, and see what do you have to change to deal with this situation. That's all you can do. You can't control whether Russia and India like each other, or whatever the hell's going on somewhere else. So you can control your reaction and your planning to respond to those threats. So do that. And if you make some new friends on the internet or in person along the way, even freaking better. So that's my motivational topic for this morning. Adapt and learn. Okay, you can't really adapt and react to something if you don't know what the hell's going on. Educate yourself. Don't freak out. Educate. Think critically. Speaking of situations, I'm going to start with the first topic for today. And I went back to some old articles I had seen a while ago, and they said, what to expect in 2021. So it's like, okay, what to expect in 2021 with the shortages. Now I went back to that article. I'm like, okay, did you shits get it right? So this was from eatthis.com. Eatthis.com. It's a foodie webpage. Eat this, not that. It's basically shows people where to get groceries, how to make recipes. It's kind of a online cooking and commentary and opinion page all rolled into one. So let's go to eatthis.com. That's just a freaking funny name. All right. Share screen. Let's share this fun. Sharing. Ta-da! So grocery shortages to expect in 2021. And as you can see, Miss Mura Domingo wrote this January 12th, 2021. So you can go see her. I think it's a lady. I don't know. We'll find out here in a minute. Anyway, so, and by the way, I started getting AARP notices, and I'm nowhere near retirement age, so I don't know what they're telling me. I'm a little bit salty about that, but I guess it's better than being hacked. So they say as we close out the year of unprecedented grocery shortages during the pandemic, the question of whether 2021 will bring empty shelves uh, becomes more pressing. So we're now in August, right? So this has been 7-ish months, almost August anyway. So we're half a year in. Let's see, grocery bag, garbage bags. Okay, we won't have a squirrel moment. Um, and lady, Lucky Dame Preparedness, she kept referring to herself as having squirrel moments, which all of us do on a live or even a pre-recorded. You'll see something and go, "Oh, that's a good topic," and off you go. So that's my squirrel moment there. Uh, favorite favorite cookie, soda, or soup? So they were predicting at the beginning of the year soup shortages, and we did see some. I did notice some sodas disappeared, like Coke Zero, which is super popular, disappeared for about a month and a half. I really didn't see cookie shortages. I did notice some soup shortages, but that makes sense. It was canned food. So I'll give them a plus for that one. That's 1 point there. Canned and frozen vegetables, and it says increases in home cooking uh, led to increased demands for frozen and canned vegetables. That was logical. Plus, those of you who were preparing, you bought the cans you needed for dinner, and then you typically bought a handful more to put in the closet in case you needed them. So that made sense. That's not only a preparedness item, but it's a day-to-day item. And with everyone cooking at home, the small cans disappeared. Now, what's funny is locally, I noticed the restaurants were trying to desperately, since they were closed, they got shut down, desperately trying to get rid of their cans and their big stuff. So there were local stores you could go to the manager and say, "Hey, look, I know you're on limited capacity. Can I buy a number 10 can of corn from you?" And the guy'd say, "Sure." And he'd look in his book and kind of say, "Okay, I paid X for it. I'll add 10% for my taxes." And we bought, meat at the taco place in the tube, like from the manufacturer. And, it's 3 pounds of meat, and I just cut it up and vacuum sealed it. So that makes sense. I'll give them that one. Well, cleaning supplies for two reasons. One, the infection, and two, you had your kids at home, and children are like their own contagion, right? They put dirt and snot everywhere. So yeah, I'll give them that one. We did see that aluminum can shortage, so I'll give them this one. That was, I don't know why I keep saying food and beverage and aluminum cans. We already talked about cans. They get a half a point because they're repeating themselves. But yeah, we did see a can shortage, and the Crafts beer actually, Molson Coors got hacked. And so their stuff was still screwed up. I got to go back to the store and see if Molson's back. I'm not a big Coors fan, but on a hot day, a good cold Molson or Coors is perfectly fine by me. I'm a little bit more craft beerish nowadays, but still, they get half a point, but that goes hand in hand with the canned food. Let's go further down. Ready to eat foods. Oh, I guess like ramens, pre-cooked solutions, and it's easy to make meals in a box like macaroni and cheese became very popular on shelves. So that makes sense. Um, Sophisticated manufacturers have more means and technology to be able to shift to supply demand. Uh, but for smaller ones, you'll see some issues. But yeah, some of the pre-cooked stuff, the instant pasta, I guess they got little shake and bake things here. I did see Knorr, that KNORR, those pasta sides everywhere recently. So I might go stock up on those because they're like a buck a pop. and they have a pretty decent mix nowadays. And is that it? Well, that sucks. That was kind of, I don't want to read about Tom Cruise. Who cares about him? So anyway, some ready to eat foods. So they kind of had a good prediction there, but the truth of the matter is they also they kind of repeated themselves, because you went canned food and canned soda. Well, that's cans. Now, I think they get only half a point for kind of predicting the aluminum shortage, uh, because that actually, oops, that hit pretty hard. I don't know why I keep swinging my pen around and then the damn thing goes flying. Ugh. That's from college. I used to sit there and think about things and do this, and then I go and write down. So I always had that pen, and or a Sharpie, which I've written the crap out of myself with Sharpies. So yeah, they were pretty close. And again, this is not a specialty, expert on logistics. This is a foodie page. Uh, by the way, it is a neat foodie page if you want to find things like. Oh, here you go. I'm going to share their page again because I just found them earlier this year, and I think they're pretty cool. But so best and worst Greek yogurts. Costco is adding some locations. So this is like foodie news, uh, healthy eating recipes, restaurants. So they tend to lean a little bit more toward the vegan, fork over knife kind of recipes, but they don't completely kick meats and more classical fare out of the page. Uh, best and worst frozen foods. So they might be worth a look. If you, oh, these states have mask mandates, so I guess they're looking at health stuff too, COVID and stuff like that. So pay attention to that stuff. Good page. They had some decent looking recipes. I might try one on my next kitchen video. But so here's another website, and this is Food and Wine. This is more mainstream website. Let's see what they came up with. The shortages that caught everyone by surprise. Bam. And here we go. That doesn't help me. Let's go down, down, down. Okay, so yeast and flour, which again made sense because people were cooking at home and they were buying bread. Now, I remember flour was very, very short and hard to find for quite a while. And keep in mind, part of the reason is certain crops, corns, green beans, flour, which aka wheat, they only grow at certain times a year here in the States. Now, in normal times, our harvesting season, they're planting in like Argentina, so we could always import from another country on the off season. They'd import our winter vegetables, we'd import their summer stuff. With the Rona, everything got screwed up, and logistics was pretty fucked. Excuse my French, but it was all fucked up. So that exchange of off-season produce really didn't happen. So yeast and flour. So think about it. This is a good lesson for future prepping, is what was short in the past. Canned goods, instant meals, yeast and flour. Meat, we're still seeing meat short. Now, canned corn became hard to find for a whole host of reasons, according to them. People hoarded, they call it hoarding, that's obnoxious, although some people did hoard as opposed to prep. Shelf-stable vegetables at the beginning of the pandemic, it's only harvested once a year, and the pandemic caught farmers by surprise. And it was too late for them in 2020 to plant more sweet corn, which is the one that typically is in the canned food that we take home. So they were planting for a certain percent of sweet corn, a certain percent of feed corn, a certain percent of ethanol corn. And when everything shut down, they didn't have the time they needed to kind of shift and plant more of the home cooked corn and less of, say, the feed corn, right? By the same token, the meat producers had more cattle that they couldn't get to the meat market, so they got screwed up too. So this is a good example. Tostitos multigrain chips. Well, they're a corn based product, so, and wheat based, so they're the same thing. Non-traditional Oreos really don't care. Canned soup, caffeine-free Coke. So those are those little things. Now pickles are in short supply uh, last year, which is kind of funny because of a shortage of glass jars. Now think about it. How many new canners and food preservers showed up? And those who were already canning, who maybe did canning once or twice a year, they saw this coming and went, oh, hell no. And a lot of you have even commented on Discord or on other videos. They're like, oh, hell no. I'm going to triple up my canning. So you guys bought a shit ton of mason jars to get ready for what you saw coming. Other people got into canning new because they're like, oh, this is terrible. Well, I got this food. Let me can it now, which is smart. And they ran out of cans. Grape nut cereal, nobody really cares. Okay, ketchup packets was something I heard about a lot of people complaining. Well, keep in mind the majority of ketchup sold is to like restaurants and facilities. So there, or even to your home, it's a bottle or it's the big, the squeezy jar or the gallon of ketchup. Well, all of a sudden, everyone was at home and people wanted to eat at home with their kids. So they wanted the ketchup packets for the kids. And there was this big uptick in this stupid product that the company is just like, we can't switch that fast. We just can't do it. Um, so cookware also, since everyone got stuck at home, people were starting to cook at home and they pulled out their pots and pans and were like, wow, my pots and pans suck. I need new pots and pans. So they went out and bought stuff. And they Lodge Cast Iron said they cleared out their warehouse. So, I mean, think about it. People started cooking at home and they started getting kind of good. And then they got fancy and they're like, I'm going to make cast iron steak. I took up cast iron about a year before the pandemic hit. So for me, I was already kind of into my groove. And then when everything started to go sideways, I said, I'm going to buy that extra skillet or that little Kamal and have some fun with this while I'm at home. But this is a really good list if you think about it. Canned soup, sodas, glass jars, spices. Food manufacturers, McCormick and companies struggle to keep up with spices. So also oat milk, tuna, canned food, cat food, chicken wings. What's with the chicken wings? They still have limits locally here in Texas. I don't use chicken wings ever, hardly ever. It's a spam. I could see that's a prepper food. Powdered milk. Think about it. You had kids at home. That was a great way to make a lot of milk. So, anyway, I thought this would be interesting for you guys to see and think about. So, again, that's foodandwine.com. Go check them out. That's kind of a neat little thing to think about. Now, I want to go to another topic, and this one, I got really angry. It was a very salty video I put out early in the year because, well, Gabriel Dene was a young Spanish kid, is a Latino, homegrown like me and my sons. He was in his own backyard, and one of these now completely unrestricted, absolutely brazen homeless folks with lots of issues jumps the fence to his property because he smelled like the cigar smoke or he heard people, went after the young guy and his fiance or his wife, and there was a fight. He told her to run and basically got beaten and stabbed to death in his own freaking backyard, a fence backyard, by a guy who shouldn't have even been on the streets. And now everything's opening up. People are traveling, right? So we're out on the streets. We're going to New Orleans. We're going to Miami. We're going to New York. Well, some of us are going to New York. Wherever you're going, you're traveling, but a lot of places are not addressing the homeless issue. And it's a twofold issue, right? And again, my wife wrote a great white paper on this. One side, and I proofread it. I was like her proofreader, so it was really enlightening to me. On the one hand, you have people who need help, but we're not helping them. But then on the other hand, we've defunded the police and we're not enforcing quality of life laws. So it's a double-edged sword, right? And we're failing on both sides. We're not taking them off the street and finding them a better route. And we're not enforcing quality of life laws. So they're becoming very brazen. They're going out and peeing, pooping in public, sexually entertaining themselves in the presence of children and whatnot. And, by then the cops come and run him off or they arrest him, but, damage is done, right? He's already. So I ran into a slew of incidents where folks have been killed or attacked on vacation. And this one pisses me off because, this easily could be my younger brother. It could be, well, I don't know. My younger brother's a retired Navy chief. If you fucked with him, he'd probably beat you to death. But Texas man vacationing in Puerto Rico after his father's passing was found beaten to death on Piedra Negra Beach, I think it was. Playa Negra. Is Christian Quesada. He's actually a fellow Texarican. And as you can see from the pictures, a young guy apparently had a girlfriend, good working kid. His dad had a stroke, so he'd gone down to Puerto Rico to take care of dad during the pandemic and all this drama. Came back to Texas, and dad was in like a home care, and he didn't make it. Dad passed away, so he went back to kind of arrange that. And they found him. The Plano, Texas man had sustained wounds to his rib cage as well as the back of his head and torso. His relatives say that it was yet another tourist found it was another tourist who found the naked, battered body of Christian Quesada. And they're having some serious drug issues on the island. So now the family is planning a funeral for both dad and oldest brother. After he spent 18 months down there. Guys, as you start going out, and again, with the spread of the Rona lately, they may start shutting certain things down again. But as you're traveling, and I've put several videos out there, I'm on the road constantly. Up until recently, I flew constantly. I was out there a lot. A lot of my videos involve traveling. My personal opinion, expect when SHTF happens, you will not be at home. You'll be at work. You'll be on vacation. You'll be visiting, Uncle Charlie up in Denver or whatever the hell you're doing. That's when shit'll happen. The chances of me, although I might look out, I might be at home, glass of bourbon, cleaning a shotgun, and they go on the news and say, zombies are here. Get ready, bitches, ready to fight. And I'll grab the shotgun. I'm like, I got bourbon. I got shells. Let's go. Chances are that won't happen. Chances are we're going to be at Walmart. You're going to be at Sam's with your kids screaming. You're going to be on a date with your new boyfriend / girlfriend, and all of a sudden something happens. So plan your trips and understand the crime that could come with traveling by yourself in strange places. He obviously understood this place. He had been there. His family was from there. I've been to Puerto Rico only a handful of times in my life. That's not home for me. Texas is my home. I know Texas. I go to Puerto Rico. It's kind of a foreign country, to be honest. It would be like, a guy from New York City, and we drop his poor butt in, West Texas. I mean, he'll get by, but it's kind of like, this is strange. I don't know what I'm doing here. That's basically what I'll deal with if I went to Puerto Rico right now. But truth of the matter is, this guy knew the area. He'd been there for a while taking care of his old man. He went home, Pop died. He came back to start setting up everything for the rest of the family to arrive, and he gets beaten to death on a beach. Apparently during the day, like, he had texted his sister that morning, hey, I'm going to go get a drink. He was going to hang out or go fishing or go running or whatever, and he gets killed. That's really a mess. And it's sad, it's yet again a young life squished by the fact that our leadership is not addressing the two facets of this homelessness and addiction issue we have here. And people who complain, oh, well, Obama did this, Reagan did that. You know what? No, that's the past. We need to address going forward how we're going to fix this shit. And just to emphasize this, here's another article. And again, travel safety, guys. Now that people are on the road, people are back out visiting. They're back out, doing normal things, vacationing, going to strange places, where in the past, law enforcement kind of kept it locked down after the pandemic, budget cuts, all that. The drugs, the crime is very brazen nowadays. If you don't believe me, go to Angry Prepper's page and start looking up the stuff he does, because he's a firefighter, if you haven't heard of him, up in New York City. And he had a video a few months back, and an old lady gets attacked across the street from the firehouse, and someone runs into the firehouse. So like, someone's beating up an old lady, so all the firemen come running out, right? And by the way, don't pick fights with firemen. They're strong as shit. You'll get hurt. But they come running out, and the guy takes off, right? They couldn't catch him. He was gone. 100, not even 50, 100 yards from that fire station. And the dude attacks an old lady and takes her purse. Yeah. This is another one. Stepfather of the Texas firefighter found dead in Cancun says his actions were out of character. He was a firefighter who was found dead in a hotel in Cancun. And his body was found stuck in a bathroom window. And the father said it's unlike him to try and get into a room he shouldn't be in. They're not sure. 35-year-old Snow was on a 10-year wedding anniversary trip with his wife, Jamie, when he was found dead in a Cancun hotel. Mexican authorities said in a statement that Snow's body was found stuck in the window of a bathroom at the hotel. Forensic report listed the cause of death as mechanical asphyxia due to thoracic abdominal compression. Basically, he was squished in the window and he couldn't breathe and died. There were no signs of violence. The family has expressed belief that he was kidnapped and murdered and may possibly have tried to get out. Now, keep in mind, a firefighter, especially, and I don't know if he was a Dallas firefighter. So this even, volunteer firefighters, I see them, they train hard. Like firefighters in general don't screw around. But this guy was a career firefighter in a major city. So this guy had to have been legit. He knew. This is someone who was trained, right? Trained for emergencies, first aid, how to think on his feet. And he wasn't young either. He's in his 30s. I mean, he's not old, but I mean, he's mature. And he wouldn't do that. The only way he would do that if he was in fear of his life and knew this was his last resort to try and get through there. There was photos. Snow's father-in-law, Randy Elledge, also voiced suspicion. He told the CBS Dallas Fort Worth that the family hired a local attorney who was able to get crime scene photos with an investigator. They said the photos appear to show that Snow was beaten over most of his body. So again, this is a firefighter. Look at that family, guys. That's I don't even know what to say. I mean, those are beautiful kids, beautiful wife. Why would he do something stupid and leave them behind? 10-year anniversary, 2 daughters not growing up. I mean, this shit, this is why I don't go certain places, because I've been there on business, right? And it's very formal. And I go there and I'm like, yeah, no. Guys, please, if you're traveling, do your homework. I've got several videos on civil unrest. I've got videos on TSA compliant EDC. I've got videos, and not just me. There are a bunch of videos out there. Six Shooter, Papa Prepper, they're on the road a lot. Six Shooter in particular, he does a lot of travel. Go look at his stuff. Lucky Dame covers a real variety of stuff. Look at her stuff as well. Northern Girl had done, it's been a while, but she did a lot of first aid stuff. look at some of the smaller channels, not just the big honking ones. Everyone's putting stuff out there. Okay, you can modify these lessons for preparedness for yourself. Pay attention to this stuff, guys, because this is awful. This is sad. And again, could it have been avoided? Well, yeah, I guess he couldn't have not gone to vacation. As a matter of fact, this is agitating enough for me that I'm going to share this with some family members I know who are about to head to that part of the world, so that they are mindful. Now, fortunately, I do know that they are also very well prepared, and they've become pseudo preppers. So I expect they'll be into preparedness quite soon. In any case, yeah, that's just unfortunate. So, guys, again, if you're on the road making travel plans, do your homework. I do several different videos, how to do pre-trip planning, how to stock your vehicle, how to fly with TSA compliant shit. Take a look at mine. You don't like mine, that's okay. Take a look at someone else's. Do your homework. This is shady. The other guy who got beaten to death on a beach. And I've seen a slew of these lately. And it seems like as soon as everything opened up, people started traveling, this shit started happening. Be careful out there, guys. Hold on a second here. I'm having a computer disagreement at the moment. And my computer's being a bit of a joke or jerk. No, I don't want that. And I want you to go away. All right. So next topic, China. Everyone's favorite communist country. So, you know, as you all know, they've been harassing their neighbors in the South China Sea, and bam. So Britain is sending their very funky double-towered aircraft carrier into the South China Sea, and the UK's carrier strike group is headed into South China Sea. China has warned the strike group not to carry out any improper acts. The People's Liberation Army Navy is at a high state of combat readiness. China has been closely monitoring the progress eastward of the carrier strike group, which is currently sailing through the South China Sea en route to Japan. So once again, the US and British and Australian and NATO and Japanese and South Korean, and now apparently even the Vietnamese and Philippines are all sending their boats and their strike groups and fishing trawlers into the contested water. Basically, all the little countries, plus a few or bigger ones, are all going, no, you don't own the freaking ocean, and we can go through here. And they're kind of challenging back and forth. Contrary to a 2016 international court ruling, China claims much of that sea as its own and has been building artificial reefs and runways. And there's an example of one of their airfields. So think of it as kind of like a permanent aircraft carrier, right? You created an island. Notice how this, I bet they've deepened this little port here so that they could get substantial ships in. But look at that. That's a pretty significant sized airfield. They've got the fuel tanks over here. I don't know if I can expand this shit. But there you go. So look at that. They've got, and that looks like fuel over here. And they've got what looks like, and I can't make it out, but it looks like, you know, barracks. There's a running field, there's exercise area. So this is a base. Like this is a full-blown, that's a full-blown operational facility. China is not looking for direct confrontation with a major U.S. ally in the South China Sea. This is a guy from a research think tank in London, but it will certainly make its intentions clear. They say if the UK conducts freedom of navigation exercises through that sea, then Mrs. Nowens, that's the specialist, believes that we are likely to see a repeat of what happened to the HMS Albion when it sailed through in 2018. It was closely shadowed by a Chinese warship only 200 meters away. 230 yards, something like that, while Chinese aircraft flew low over the British vessel. Um, So now there's several carrier strike groups. Now, this is important because obviously all these countries, including us and the UK, everyone else needs freedom of navigation. But when you have a lot of ships, airplanes, helicopters all zooming around each other, the chances of someone screwing up and shooting someone down or crashing and causing a scene increases tenfold. So they've got to be very mindful of how they do this stuff. Uh, Nothing we can do about it. Pay attention to it because this kind of stuff tends to disrupt supply chains. Also, I'm hearing that China's economy, we think ours is doing weird stuff. Theirs is not doing well. They're just better at hiding it than we are. They may be doing this to uh, puff up their views of the universe. So we'll stop sharing that. Hold on just a second here as I make some stuff. Well, that's cool. There we go. So my screens just went blank. I'm like, oh, Chinese hacker. Okay, never mind. So another one for China. Oops. Two-star general warns the U.S. military. That's funky. Bear with me a second here. There we go. Two-star Marine Corps General Arnold Pugnaro argued that China's growing military and America's shrinking forces puts the U.S. at a disadvantage. He said they're very clear about what they've been doing. They are building their military at an alarming rate. Their nuclear, naval, and purchasing power. They can buy more with their yuan that we're getting for our dollars and bang for the buck. I said that weird. For example, in the last 5 years, China produced 105 naval combatants. We produced 26. They're buying friendships all over the world. And keep in mind, they're about to move into Afghanistan. And part of the reason they want to do that is to make an alliance with the Taliban to fight the Uyghur rebels that are in China, because they're like conflicting groups. So basically, they're using the Taliban, or the Taliban's using China. Take your pick. But that'll be interesting. And actually, here's another article. And again, this is a lot of puffery. China state media accused Biden of threatening war, seeks the ability to eliminate U.S. forces. Now, part of this is, they came out with their hypersonic rocket in Russia. We apparently have had one for 8 years, which has freaked them out. So some of what they're doing is response to stuff that they know we can do to them. But some of it may be puffery to keep their people aligned. For those of you who have not read 1984, war is peace, right? Sounds like a contradiction. Not really. If the nation's at war, they're focused on the enemy, not on their own problems. Therefore, the country's at peace while you're fighting a war. That's kind of the gist of it. That's what they're doing. So we conceivably could see China suddenly have some serious domestic issues in the coming years if they can't find a way to level off their economy, which is acting very strange right now. May not be the case. I could be wrong. I'm not an economist. But American officials see China as a top threat to the U.S. with regard to the economy, cybersecurity, and the military. The Times editorial board attributed Biden's remarks that a significant cyber attack could lead to a real shooting war, to a threat of war against China and Russia. So China, and then in response, China needs to ramp up its defense so that it deprives the U.S. of its confidence that it could defeat China in a contest in the Taiwan Strait. So again, back to Taiwan, but China's getting a little skitsy. They're getting a little nervous, kind of wondering what's going to happen. Again, a lot of puffery from China. Russia's just being Russia, right? They're just screwing with their neighbors right now. But China's been very puffed up. And they are looking for Chinese hegemony. They're looking for, not Pax Americana, but Pax China, the Chinese global order. And us, and believe it or not, the Russians and the British are in their way, and they're not very happy about that. But again, if their economy is not that stable, this could be a lot of puffery for the domestic audience. So this remains to be seen, guys. Um, Speaking of domestic and economy issues, and this will be my last subject for today. So this came out not very long ago, actually. The American economy was red hot in the second quarter of 2021, growing at a 6.5% annualized rate, adjusted for inflation, and surpassing a pre-pandemic level, which is good. There was a problem. Many on Wall Street expected a white-hot economy of 8% or greater. What's more, the expectation comes after has been drifting lower of late. So real GDP growth failed to hit even the reduced target. So basically, they're saying they were expecting it to really come back hot and heavy, and it did for a bit, and then it kind of flattened out and it kind of pooped out. Now that could partly be to fears of the Rona's new a Delta variant. It could be fears of some other stuff, instability overseas. We don't know. But while some of these supply constraints are temporary, the concern among economists is that if prices rise for a sustained period, the surge will change expectations about future inflation. And those altered expectations can become self-fulfilling if workers start demanding higher pay and businesses start charging higher prices as a result. So basically, if they can't get the inflation effect to kind of level off and settle, they were saying it was temporary, but if it doesn't, it's going to require higher salaries because remember, each dollar's worth less. So you need more dollars per hour to buy your groceries. The stores are like, well, we're paying more for the product. We're going to have to go up, and it's going to slowly creep across both sides, the consumer and the provider, over time. So a bit of a disappointing issue. There's going to be some infrastructure growth. 110 billion for roads and bridges, 66 for passenger and freight rail, 39 billion for public transit. So that's good. That'll get some folks working. In the bigger cities, a lot of the unions will get back to work. That's a good thing. Excuse me. And we definitely need to fix our infrastructure. So that's good. But if the supply side goes up because of lack of supply, or I'm sorry, if the purchasing gets more expensive because of lack of supply or an inflationary effect that makes it more expensive to buy the same supply, that's gonna hurt us. So we need to watch on this kind of stuff. And we have, while we're inflationary effect, there's been compromises for any infrastructure and spending bill because we spent a boatload of money and printed a lot of money. And right now, Politico is saying that Pelosi and Sanders brace for Democratic upheaval over Biden's agenda. So basically, they had to make some deals, they had to make some compromises, and some in the fringe wings are not liking it because they didn't get everything they wanted. Everyone knows good politics. Nobody gets everything. Everyone gets something, and everyone moves the hell on. So they're expecting a lot of infighting within the Democratic Party, much like we saw in parts of the Republican Party earlier in the year. And what that does, that discombobulates the party. They don't have a direction, and everything just slows down like molasses. So hopefully these two old stateswomen can get their act together, get their people in line to get something moving forward. During a call with Pelosi, Sanders also relayed his support for her ahead of what's shaping up to be a massive pressure campaign from moderate Democrats and Republicans. So it's they're still struggling through it. Now, hopefully they can resolve it, guys. Maybe not. I don't know. But the truth of the matter is they've got to do something to deal with the inflation. Don't forget, and I'm not touching on it today, but the eviction moratorium ends the 31st. It ends the end of July. Where that's going to go, some states are putting different types of moratoriums in. Some are giving landlord assistance so that the landowner, the property owner, especially private citizens like us who own rental properties as a wealth growth opportunity, aren't losing our shorts having a rental that we can't get income from. Uh, where it goes, I don't know. The bad sign is that where landlords have given up and they're like, I'm selling the property, they're selling it to large corporations. So now the American dream of having your own home and then having rental properties that you could get equity and benefit from is disappearing, and it's being gobbled up by large investors and corporations who have big pockets. Uh, some of them are also dictating the terms of rentals. So I've recently seen some where the renter could not own firearms in the house. They could not have visitors for more than a week in the house. So like if your uncle or your cousin, and there's a double sword to that too, double-edged sword, you couldn't have people staying over. Um, they're restricting if you have, for instance, medicinal marijuana. No, you can't have it in my apartment. So if you actually do have a script for certain meds, they won't allow it in their apartment because it's a corporation. They're being ruled by insurance risk. It's not a personal where it's like, don't trash my house and you can rent it. Simple enough, have some insurance. The corporations are putting a lot of pressure and restrictions on new renters. And basically, not only that, but then very often private landowners or landlords. For instance, I had rental properties at one point, and at some point we got tired of it. We sold them. Those houses went back into circulation to homeowners, and it was actually retirees bought one of our rental properties. Another one we were managing, a first-time homeowner was able to buy it. Now those houses are no longer going into the private homeowner market. They're being taken away and being used as rental properties, much like big apartment buildings, by the corporations. So now first-time homeowners are going out there looking for a house, and they're having trouble finding a relatively decent one because they're all being rented out by corps. Yeah, that's going to take away that American dream of owning your own property, getting equity, building wealth over years. We'll see how that works out. So keep an eye on that eviction thing. Let's see how that pans out. Hopefully it's not going to be a complete train wreck. But in any case, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be it for the 31st July 2021 SitRep. I hope you guys are doing well. Again, this is a pre-recorded. Now that the weather's kind of nice, the missus and I are going and doing travel. We're hitting little sites and around the areas. So until next time, Godspeed if you're on the road. Be safe, pay attention, and if you can teach or educate someone and help them out, try to do that. The more people who are prepared and mindful for what's going on, the better all of us are as a community. Keep an eye out in the next coming weeks. As soon as I can get kind of like a window to do it, I will be doing a kitchen live and probably do a whole dinner using midterm and long-term prep stuff. So give you guys some ideas on how to cook things the right way. So you're not just like eating spam out of a can. Who the hell wants to do that? But you have some decent recipes. Until next time, guys, God bless, take care, and have fun out there. Don't panic. You new guys, don't panic. It's all good. Plan, execute. Take care.